And thank you for tuning into CAN TV. My name is Stephanie Rios and I'm a staff member here. And today we are speaking with Jessie Fuentes, who is the coordinator for the Chicago chapter of the National Boricua Human Rights Network, which is associated with the Puerto Rican Cultural Center. So thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Stephanie, for inviting me.
So let's get started first. For those who are unfamiliar, can you talk a little bit about what the Puerto Rican Cultural Center does, what kind of programs and services they offer?
Sure. The Puerto Rican Cultural Center for the last 4 decades has offered services anywhere from housing, health services, youth alternative spaces, an alternative education program, a school named after Pedro Albizu Campos High School that takes in students that have been dropped out or kicked out of CPS schools. And we also have worked really hard to work on a campaign called National Boricua Human Rights Network that is struggling for the freedom of Oscar Lopez Rivera.
Oh, okay. And what's your involvement in the National Boricua Human Rights Network?
I am one of the coordinators of the Chicago chapter of the National Boricua Human Rights Network.
Oh, okay. So, what exactly is it that your role is? What do you do with them on a day-to-day basis with them?
Sure. So for the last 6 years, me and many other members have worked really hard in getting petitions signed for Oscar's release, particularly addressed to Obama to pardon Oscar. We have also worked extremely hard on different annual fundraisers to be able to raise money to take the campaign to the next level. Many campaigns need funds for advertisement, need funds for travel, need funds to have meetings with certain personnel that can help us in getting Oscar pardoned. And we have also worked with elected officials to get in the ears of Obama.
Oh, okay. So, you're a pretty young person. So my question would be, how did you get involved in activism, from such a young age?
Yeah, I was actually a student at Pedro Albizu Campos High School. I was a CPS reject, and it is at Albizu Campos where I learned about my own historical memory in Puerto Rican studies, and I also learned about Oscar Lopez Rivera, and at the time, before he was released, Carlos Alberto Torres. And as a high school student, I knew that I needed to stand for something. I've always had this passion to be a part of something different, but a part of something that was extremely relevant to my own reality and history. And so I joined the campaign at the time to free Carlos Alberto Torres and Oscar Lopez Rivera. And through the campaign and my work, we were able to free Carlos Alberto Torres in 2010, and we are currently now struggling for the release of Oscar.
Wow, at such a young age, that's an amazing accomplishment and something to be involved with. I'm glad to hear about that. For those of you who are just tuning in, you're tuning into CAN TV. My name is Stephanie Rios, and I'm a staff member here. We're talking to Jessie Fuentes. She is a coordinator of the Chicago chapter of the National Boricua Human Rights Network. And Jessie, we've talked about Oscar Lopez. We've mentioned his name.
Yes.
For those who are not familiar with who he is, can you please tell the audience who he is?
Sure. Oscar Lopez Rivera currently is one of the longest held Puerto Rican political prisoners in Puerto Rico and Latin America and all over the world. Before being incarcerated, Oscar was an activist in the Puerto Rican community. But before that, we also should take into account that Oscar is a veteran of the United States and was a soldier in the Vietnam War. And it was in Vietnam that he realized that there were injustices not just in Vietnam and in the war, but there were also injustices happening in his own community to his own people. And he made a very conscious decision to come back home, to come to Chicago and Humboldt Park to provide services and really build a community for the Puerto Rican people who had moved to the diaspora. Oscar spent a lot of time founding the Puerto Rican Cultural Center that provides the services that many young Puerto Ricans are able to benefit from today. He founded the Puerto Rican High School, Dr. Pedro Albizu Campos High School, that I had the privilege of graduating from. He founded El Rincón, which is a rehabilitative center for Puerto Ricans that had drug addictions in the 60s and 70s. But he also took things to the next level. He understood that Puerto Ricans in the United States needed resources and needed mentors to be able to pursue post-secondary education because it was a platform that we were not used to. It was a platform that we didn't have resources to take advantage of. So Scott spent a lot of time creating organizations and creating resources for young Puerto Ricans at the universities like the University in Chicago of Illinois, Northeastern Illinois University, and different community colleges so that young Puerto Ricans can pursue post-secondary education.
So you mentioned that Oscar helped co-found the Puerto Rican Cultural Center.
Correct.
Can you talk about some of the specifics about what he saw in the community when he returned from being overseas? Some of the specifics that he saw that said, you know what, we need to do something.
Yeah, Oscar's seen many different things. He's seen the lack of housing resources for Puerto Ricans. Puerto Ricans in Humboldt Park were living in some of the most unlivable conditions in the community. 6 to 7 individuals in a one-bedroom apartment, apartments that were not affordable, apartments that did not have owners or landlords that took care of the property or took care of its tenants. He also seen a drug epidemic. He's seen Puerto Ricans at unbelievable rates consuming drugs and dying from consuming drugs, but worse, dying from using needles and using tools that were not clean. And so he decided to create these organizations and resources to be able not only to address the issue of housing and address the issue of drugs, but to provide an educational platform that will create a different pathway for Puerto Ricans and community. Puerto Ricans weren't finishing high school. I mean, the dropout rate amongst Puerto Rican youth in communities of color in the 60s and 70s were extremely high. And it is due to not having bilingual resources. It is due to not having financial aid. It is due to not having proper housing. And so he understood that there needed to be a center, that there needed to be a space where young Puerto Ricans can benefit from resources, but where they can also have the platform to be able to discuss these issues at a deeper rate.
Wow, that's so much, and it's just so amazing to think someone like that obviously has influenced and created and led different generations up until now, seeing you doing everything that you've done. So, you know, it's amazing that there are so many people now that are or that have been backing him and being there for him, because he did for so many that now he needs and people are doing for him.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about, can you tell me what, or compare before he was in jail, you've talked about all the things that he did, and now, is there a comparison of what he means to the community then and now?
Yeah. Oscar, before being incarcerated, was an activist, an educator, a mentor, a friend, and a family member to many. Well respected, and he deserved to be respected for all the work that he had done for people who didn't believe that that type of work can be done. But Oscar now is a hero, not just to young Puerto Ricans in the diaspora, but to everyone on the island. And I believe for the first time, Oscar is an individual who can be respected and honored by people from different political platforms. And in Puerto Rico, that is unheard of, right? If you stand with one political belief, it is usually that you only earn the respect of that political grouping, right? Oscar has earned the respect from people who believe in statehood, people who believe in commonwealth, people who believe in the independence of Puerto Rico, because for the first time, Puerto Ricans in the diaspora and Puerto Ricans on the island understand the colonial status of Puerto Rico. It is the same colonial status that Oscar was fighting against when he was an activist in the Puerto Rican community. It's that same movement that got Oscar incarcerated in the first place. And for the first time in the history of Puerto Rico, there is an individual that is respected by all political parties, but that all political parties are also struggling for his freedom.
So, you know, it's obviously, we don't want him to be in jail, and, you know, what happened is unfortunate, but, I mean, from what you're telling me, it seems as though, you know, everything happens for a reason kind of thing that people say, that what has happened and the fight to bring him back has been something that's brought everyone together for one common goal, right?
Yeah.
So I like to hear that. So can you tell us, why is it important now, more than ever, for Oscar to be free?
Yeah. Let me tell you one thing. Oscar has spent 35 years in prison. 35 years unjustly, right? He has a charge of seditious conspiracy. There is no charge that says that Oscar has hurt anyone, that Oscar has committed any act of terror. He is incarcerated for a charge that is a thought crime. And he's getting old. He deserves to be home with his family. And his out date is too far. And without Obama pardoning him and allowing the Puerto Rican people to have their hero home, it is very possible that Oscar can be one of the first Puerto Rican political prisoners to die in prison. We don't have the time. Time is not at our side right now. Obama has until January to make the decision to pardon Oscar. Because we know that the new administration with Trump will not do it. Trump has actually, in fact, has invested some funds in calling the Puerto Rican political prisoners terrorists. He has published facts that are untrue. He has had people record videos and state things that are not factual. And he has made it very public that he is against the freedom of Oscar. And it is for the first time that we need a president to hear the Puerto Rican people. And we hope that Obama can do that before he leaves office.
Can you tell me, I hear you speaking so passionately about this. What does Oscar mean to you?
Yeah, I'm actually one of the young people in the community that are extremely privileged to have contact with Oscar. Since I was in high school, since I was 17 years old, we have written letters to each other. We have spoken over the phone. And, he's just one of those people that you don't see in your history books, right? He's one of those people that you will not learn about unless you attend a school like Pedro Albizu Campos. He's a historical figure for me. But he's also been a mentor. He's been someone that has made me passionate about the work, someone who has helped me understand the injustices that are taking place in our community, to our people, and how to be an activist and how to act against those injustices. But he has also been someone who can bring you down when you feel like, things are so difficult that you want to give up. He is one of the most humble human beings I have ever spoken to. He's probably one of the happiest individuals I have spoken to, and he has spent 35 years behind bars, right? And so when I think about my life, Oscar has spent more years in prison than I have been alive. Mm-hmm. And he is still so humble and so passionate about the work and regrets nothing, right? He still stands for what he stood before he got incarcerated. And that for me is extremely inspiring. It's what keeps me going. It's what keeps me waking up every morning and say, I'm going to do this again. Yeah. Because if Oscar can wake up every morning and still believe in the freedom of Puerto Rico, still believe in being an activist behind bars, then I can go to my community and I can act and I can be an activist. Because if he can do it in the conditions that he is in, then I can do it in whatever conditions I face in the community.
Well, for those that are listening to you and are inspired by you, what can people out there do to help, to participate in this movement to free Oscar Lopez Rivera?
Yeah, so there's one essential thing that the campaign, not just in Chicago, but nationally is working on, and that is a petition that we have initiated on We the People. It is a website that takes injustices, cases that communities think that should be brought to Obama's attention. And by December 11th, we need 100,000 signatures on We the People in order for Oscar's case to go to Obama's desk. We are currently close to 50,000, but we only have 18 days to get 100,000 signatures. So please, if you can go to boricuahumanrights.org, as soon as you get to the homepage, you can click sign this petition. It will take you directly to We the People. Sign the petition, confirm by email, and help us get 100,000.
Okay, so then what you're saying is We the People is kind of like your direct line to the White House. Correct. To say this is what we want done.
Yeah,
right?
It is actually a White House website. It was created by the White House so that if it grasps the attention of citizens in the United States, that they too will give it attention.
Oh, wow. Okay. Now, do you have any events coming up or somewhere where people can learn more about what's happening with Oscar Lopez Rivera right now?
Claro, yes. We have a holiday brunch art
I
festival.
believe we have a flyer.
Yes.
So, you can go ahead
So
and
we
explain.
have a holiday brunch and art festival event on December 4th at Segundo Ruiz Belvis Cultural Center. This is an annual event that we do to raise consciousness around Oscar's case. Jan Sussler, the lawyer of Oscar, will be there to talk about the specifics of the case. Many members of National Boricua Human Rights Network will be there to talk about the campaign and the next steps for the campaign and for Obama. And we will also have an art festival, so if you're interested in getting art for family members for the holidays, it's a great place to eat brunch, to break bread, and buy art.
Nice. All right, so for those of you who are just tuning in, you're watching CAN TV. My name is Stephanie Rios, and I am here with Jessie Fuentes. Jessie, we've talked about Oscar Lopez Rivera. I hope that everyone has gotten as much out of it as I have, learning about the movement, learning about him, learning about why he's important, and, you know, along the way, learning about the Puerto Rican community too, and the unity that you have. So we're going to switch gears just a bit, and let's talk. I know that World AIDS Day is coming up.
Yes.
December 1st, I believe, correct?
Yes, yes.
Can you tell us, do you have any events that are coming up that people need to know about?
Yeah, so Vida Sida is an organization that has been in our community for several decades now, truly dealing with the HIV epidemic in our community. And annually, we have had a World AIDS Day event to deal with the epidemic, but to also raise consciousness around the numbers, around the data of people who have been diagnosed with HIV, how many people are receiving treatment, and all the services that Vida Sida provides. So we're having a World AIDS Day event with many different professionals in the field who will be articulating the data, articulating the epidemic, and all the resources that are being given December 1st at the National Museum for Puerto Rican Arts and Culture. And so please come by, come to the event. It's going to be an extremely educational and impactful event in our community.
And can you tell us, I know that there's a new website
Yes.
that just came out, so I just checked it out today. Can you give us the website information?
Yes, so please go to prcc-chgo.org. It's where you can get all of the information from the Puerto Rican Cultural Center, receive all of the information on our different initiatives and different projects. It also has a ton of flyers and event pages so you can keep up with our calendar. And also it has, if you're interested in applying for any position, it has a tab with career opportunities.
Oh, great. And are you often looking for volunteers to join? Can they find information there for that as well?
Yes, yes. So organizations just like Vida Sida and many of our housing organizations, we're always looking for folks who are willing to come out and be outreach coordinators and volunteers. We can never say no to help in our organization. So if you're interested in doing any outreach for any different services, from health to housing to youth alternative spaces, please come out. Reach out to us. There's a phone number and email on our website. Feel free.
Great. And so then we're going to close up and wrap up a bit. So can you give us the address for the Puerto Rican Cultural Center, please?
Yes, it's 273941 West Division Street, located near Division in California.
Okay. And do you have social media pages where people can follow you?
Yeah, so we have National Boricua Human Rights Network on Facebook. We have La Voz de Paseo Boricua, which is our community newspaper. We have the Puerto Rican Cultural Center, and we have Vida Sida. Come like our pages.
Wow, so much going on, right? That's great. A lot of help for the community. Okay, well, Jessie, I want to really thank you for coming and letting us know all this information, for teaching us about Oscar Lopez and what the people can do to join the movement. I want to thank Jessie Fuentes, who is the coordinator for the Chicago chapter of the National Boricua Human Rights Network, which is associated with the Puerto Rican Cultural Center. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us.
And thanks to all of you for tuning in to CAN TV. Have a great day.